Well, joining me now virtually to discuss this and much more, I have aviation analyst Wole Shadari. Thank you very much for joining us on the Breakfast Show this morning, Mr. Shadari.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Now, back in March, we saw the peak of the disruption of flights, delays, and also cancellations due to the scarcity of aviation fuel. Now we have airlines talking about grounding operations to a halt barely a few hours prior to this announcement, which ought to have taken effect today. But really, the bone of contention is the 700 naira price peg of Jet A1 fuel. The reality for these airlines is that this is a push to the wall and a breaking beyond the pressure point. What are your thoughts in this latest development, the suspension, and how much of a setback do you think this is as well? This back and forth we've had over the pricing of Jet A1 fuel, the impact on ticketing, and overall the travel experience for average air passengers in the country. Let's also remember that air travel remains one of the safest means of moving due to insecurity in the country.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to thank or congratulate all the stakeholders who ensured that we didn't go on strike, because we're looking at what it would have cost to the entire aviation value chain. Aside that, it would have also caused a very big dislocation in the travel industry. But thank God, common sense prevailed, and the airline operators decided to suspend their planned strike. It has been on in the last 3 months. The astronomical price of Jet A1, which has gone up from about 300 naira to now 700 naira per liter. This is not actually sustainable for any airline or any business to operate in the country. Be that as it may, we've been here before and we've just seen how far we can go more. If we remember vividly, in January or February, the operators were found in this similar situation when aviation fuel rose from 350 naira per liter to almost 600 naira per liter. They had a meeting and threatened to go on strike before the National Assembly and other stakeholders intervened to ensure that we do not have a disruption in the air transport industry. And they agreed at that meeting that it was going to be pegged at 500 naira or 550, if I remember vividly. And immediately after that hike in airfare, the airline operators also met and decided to increase airfare from 35,000 naira to 50,000 naira as the base fare. And that really raised a lot of outcry by so many Nigerians who felt it was on the high side. But by and large, if you need to look at airline business, aviation fuel takes about 40-45% of the entire revenue of airline. Now that aviation fuel has gone to 700 naira per liter, I believe, or some of us believe, that aviation fuel has taken about 65-70% of airlines' revenue. And if you look at that, airline business is highly capital intensive. They pay a lot. Before they pay overhead and all that, they have nothing left for them as profit. So a lot of people quite understood the position of AOL. But the problem is, withdrawing your service, is that the solution to the issue? Thank God the National Assembly and the federal government by extension has decided to meet with the airlines to look for a middle ground on how to do this, on how to sustain their operation, or how they can remain in operations without cutting corners. If they have, if there's high cost of operation and these airlines are forced to continue to operate, we fear that there might be corner cutting by these airlines. And once we begin to have them cut corners, we are actually preparing the ground for a disaster. Thank God that we have a responsive and responsible Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority that will not allow any airline to cut corners. So I can confidently tell everyone that the aviation industry in Nigeria is safe, is comparable with whatever you have in the United States, what you have in the United Kingdom. So we begin to look at this. What are the airlines going to do? Is this the end of the crisis? I doubt it, because the way I look at things, the way a lot of people look at things, this might even get to 1,000 naira per liter in the next few years. Because if we look at what has happened, aviation fuel has risen 4 times in a space of 2 months. So where do we go from here? But you also cannot blame the marketers, because aviation fuel is deregulated. It has been deregulated for the past 15 or 20 years. So, except we are asking that the federal government should also extend subsidy to that sector. We already know how much we're paying on subsidy for PMS,
For petrol,
which I
yes.
guess has risen to over 2 trillion, if I'm correct. So, are we also asking them to extend that to the Jet A1 or aviation fuel, as the case may be? The answer is no. I think what we have seen is the Russia-Ukraine war has also contributed immensely to what we are seeing now. We just pray that this war comes to an end as quickly as possible, because it's not actually limited to what we're having now, is not actually limited to Nigeria Airline. International
Definitely.
airlines are also crying.
Mr. Shatter, if
The
I'm a button
international
here.
airlines.
Now, the reality, like you've also made mention of, is that we are also dealing with the Russia-Ukraine crisis. This is also exacerbating the pressure we are seeing within the energy markets. Now, once again, the trouble here is that there's no magic wand to crash the price of Jet A1 fuel. But to what extent now do you think government can sustainably bring down the price of the price range of Jet A1 fuel in the country? And then what's also your reaction to the previous call and also license issuance that airline operators can now import their own Jet A1 fuel into the country? Some say this isn't airline operators' primary duty, hence there's no need to delve into such business. But this is one of the realities we're facing here.
I think I want to disagree with whoever says airline primary objective is to fly passengers and cargo from point A to point B. Yes, I agree to a large extent that that is one of their responsibilities. All over the world, big airlines like United, Delta, they buy their fuel, they source their fuel, they have an agreement with oil marketers on how to get this commodity at relatively cheaper prices. So I think what the airlines have done is good, but we do not know whether they have the capacity or the capability to follow this up. Again, if we had a functional refinery, perhaps the price of aviation fuel would have drastically reduced. But because if we refine our products internally, the cost of shipping, the cost of landing costs would have also reduced. But we hope that the Dangote refinery will come on stream as quickly as possible, so that we can, or this problem can really be ameliorated. Is a big problem for the airlines. And the airlines are even torn between the devil and the deep blue sea, in the sense that if they try to adjust airfare further, I bet a lot of people will not take to air travel. And they are really, really worried, because 50,000 base fare for 1 hour flight is really, really much for a lot of Nigerians. I'm not talking about government officials. I'm not talking about business people. I'm talking of you and I. Traveling to Abuja from Lagos now will cost you nothing less than 100,000 naira. And if you look at the economy, how many people can sustain this? How many people can really afford to travel by road? The implication of all this is that a lot of people will take to road travel, even with the attendant security challenges on our road. You can't blame them, because they can't really afford it. And what air transport means, or what air transport should be, it should be made available to everybody. In Nigeria, it's becoming a luxury to fly from Lagos to Abuja, for example. Whereas in other climes, is the way of is a mode of transportation which is faster, which is also cheaper if you look at it. I think the airlines need to re-engineer, they need to re-strategize. But how can they re-strategize in a situation where it's very difficult for them to even get foreign. Like I said, aviation industry globally is highly dollarized. A situation where the foreign exchange has gone haywire. How do the airlines cope? What do we expect them to do? But at the same time, like I said, they need to re-strategize. They need to look at how they're going to do the operation, maybe by getting more fuel efficient aircraft rather than getting those Boeing that Airbus big aircraft that are or regional jet that are fuel and are not fuel efficient. So we are really torn between the devil and the deep blue sea now. Which one do we go for? So I want to believe that the meeting, the National Assembly, and by extension, the federal government is going to have with the operators will yield a better result. But as it is, I think we're just postponing the inputting. And we honestly hope that this matter will somehow, there will be a middle ground on how the airlines can get aviation fuel at relatively cheaper prices. But I doubt if it can ever go back to 300 or 400 naira per liter, like we had some few months ago. So the airlines need to do more. The federal government has done a lot for the airlines, but they still need to do more in the area of spare parts and acquisition, VAT. Those things have been removed. Those VATs have been removed for airlines, but we need to do more on this aviation.
Exactly.
Because,
Exactly.
If one commodity takes like 60-70% of your total revenue, what
That's
it
a
means
whole
is
lot.
that there's no how you can even
Exactly.
remain in business, and that
Mr.
is
Wale
even
Shadari, for the lack of time, we'll just have to leave the conversation here. We'll definitely keep tabs on what to play out, the intricacies of these discussions that will be held today, and going further. Thank you once again.